Have you ever prayed so intensely you looked chaotic to others? That's Hannah's story. A high priest saw a drunk woman, but she was making a prayer that would change a nation's destiny. Hers was a faith so intense it was mistaken for intoxication. A faith that would echo through eternity. Let's dive into her story. Ancient Israel, a time and place where a woman's worth was often measured by her sons. Hannah loved by her husband Elkanah, but she was barren, in a time when children were a sign of God's favor. This brought her deep public shame and constant sorrow, the Bible says. The Lord had closed her womb, but her troubles didn't end there. Her husband's other wife, Peninnah, had children and tormented Hannah mercilessly. This psychological torment happened year by year during their annual trip to worship at Shiloh. The taunts were so sharp that Hannah would weep so hard she couldn't even eat. Imagine the scene, a bustling religious festival, people praising God, while Hannah's heart is breaking. Year after year, the same pain, the same tears. It was during one of these trips that Peninnah provoked Hannah so badly that she reached her breaking point, overwhelmed with grief. Hannah went to the temple and poured out her heart to God. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. The high priest, Eli, saw her and jumped to a shocking conclusion. He thought she was drunk. "How long will you be drunk?" he demanded. Picture this. Hannah, dressed in her finest clothes, head bowed in prayer, suddenly interrupted and accused of being drunk. What would you have done in her shoes? How would you have reacted to such a public humiliation? With a clear conscience, Hannah calmly explained her grief to the priest, and Eli blessed her. But this seemingly small interaction was a turning point in Hannah's life. It was here that she made a vow. If God gave her a son, she would give him to God's service for his entire life. Think about it. Hannah wasn't asking for a blessing for herself, but for an opportunity to serve God more closely. What a beautiful perspective. After this encounter, something shifted within Hannah. The heavy cloak of sadness that had been weighing her down for years suddenly felt lighter. She found peace and faith long before the miracle came. And what a miracle it was, the Bible says. The Lord remembered her. Hannah conceived and gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, which means heard by God. Just think about it. Hannah's pain became the birthplace of one of Israel's greatest prophets and judges. Can you imagine the irony that her shame turned into fame, her despair into destiny, her silence into Samuel, the boy who would lead Israel to victory against the Philistines? But that's not all. When Samuel was still just a baby, Hannah kept her word. She took him back to the temple and gave him to the Lord's service. Instead of crying, she sang a powerful song of praise. She declared how God lifts up the humble and answers the desperate. Her personal anguish led to a national destiny. Friends, Hannah's story teaches us that sometimes our greatest weakness can become our greatest strength. Her silent, heartfelt prayer was heard by God despite being mistaken for drunkenness. Her story reminds us that God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. If this story of faith touched your heart, subscribe and share this with someone who needs to be reminded that their silent prayers are never forgotten. Until next time, may you be blessed with the peace that surpasses all understanding and the strength to keep going when life feels like it's too hard. Take care.